it had all started so well. One dreary Sabbath afternoon, that he sat there speaking to Simon, one of the zealot leaders. He didn't know Simon that well, but the zealots were revered. They were the renegades who came out of the shadows and took a Roman soldier back into one. Not that Judas himself was a violent man. Yes, he spent his youth ducking and diving, always wanting to be where the action was. But he'd never stepped out of the shadows himself and stood up to the occupiers, the Romans. The Romans who took the best of the land and then taxed you for it as well. So the zealots were to be cheered on from afar, but he thought they were pretty much a bunch of thugs who were all about encouraging anarchy. As they were chatting, all hell broke loose. The tables fell over, the money went up in the air, the stuff on it just went everywhere. There was stew, there was dust, there was shouting, there was people upset, there was derision, there was laughter, there was scorn, there was silence, there was some more laughter. In the midst of all of this, Judas stood up and he found himself looking straight into the eyes of a stranger. A man whose eyes looked as if they'd been polished all morning, into whose eyes it looked like you could push a camel. This for Judas was something terrifying and fascinating. "Are you coming this way?" the man said to him. Judas looked and he gesticulated with a thumb. Just take one or two ideas to change the kingdom. Fascinated, Judas trotted after this enigmatic figure. But from that day onwards, he wasn't impressed so much by the violence or the physical strength, but by this man's attitude towards law and order. He could certainly respect somebody that wouldn't give a monkeys to a Pharisee, or somebody that wasn't frightened of the temple authorities. But as time went on, the teacher, Jesus, spent too much time out of town, too much time on the hills, outside with oddballs and notorious women. Teaching and healing are fine, but it was when he began to talk about his death was when Judas really began to lose heart. "Come on, Jesus, show yourself. Remember that rage from the temple?" But there were no plans. There was no strategy. And in all of that, Judas came to realize he had to force the issue. And besides, Judas, he always was somebody who was knowing how you could get money out of a situation. Judas was losing heart. Things were not working out as he had hoped. Why the garden? Well, he knew that Jesus spent most of his time outside. He knew that the Garden of Gethsemane was his favourite place to go and pray with his disciples. The Garden of Gethsemane was a scrappy garden. It wouldn't have won many gardening awards. It was at the foot of the Mount of Olives, and the trees clumped there together looked like they were protecting each other from the violence of the sun. And those trees had stood there for hundreds of years, seeing pacts made, seeing human life come and go. People trying to work out what it's all about. A kiss. With night having fallen, the temple guards needed to find out, to know, which of the figures was the protagonist Jesus. Judas had agreed that a kiss would be the way he identified Jesus. The tenderness, the intimacy, a small act for a few bob, a simple act, and yet altogether a clear sign of identification. He kissed Jesus. This act was never intended to take him down, but it was rather to bring him out. Come on now, Jesus, step up. Show us that same authority that rage that you showed in the temple. What are you, a lion or a lamb?